On the invitation of Chinese President, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari embarked on a state visit to China. President Buhari is the first African leader to visit China after the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit held in Johannesburg, South Africa. This very strategic summit is viewed by many as being of great importance to China-Nigeria and China-Africa relations and attracts great commitment from both countries and Africa. In recent years, China had witnessed frequent high-level exchanges with Nigeria, and the political mutual trust has been enhanced significantly. Economically, the cooperation between China and Nigeria in various areas such as infrastructure, energy, trade and finance has recorded impressive achievements. The trade volume between China and Nigeria currently stands at $14.94 billion, representing 83% of the total trade volume between China and Africa, and 42% of the total trade volume between China and ECOWAS countries in Africa. Nigeria remains China's #1 engineering contract market, second largest export market, and third trading partner and major investment destination in Africa. It will also interest you to know that just before President Buhari's visit, China invested over $2.5 billion in Nigeria. That will be the conversation on diplomatic ties, and my guest is His Excellency Ambassador Joseph Ayalogu. Ambassador Ayalogu is a retired Foreign Service officer, former permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, and former Nigerian ambassador to Switzerland. He is currently the executive director of a power generating company in Nigeria. Your Excellency, thanks for joining me on Diplomatic Ties.
Thank you, thank you.
My name is Omini Oden. Get more details on the program after this report by Adamu Sambo from the State House and Julieta Aino from China.
Top on the list of priority areas of engagement for President Buhari's visit to China is agriculture and mining. To make the path straight and facilitate cooperation in that regard, drivers of bilateral engagements and negotiators have been in Beijing for days, meeting the facilitators of that sector in China. Negotiations were incomplete without sitting down with various agricultural modernization and mechanization companies, particularly China's largest farming equipment manufacturer, Cameco.
So many agreements, so many bilateral, so many MOU will be signed with the federal government and some of the companies that are here. So many companies has interest in Nigeria. So we are going to work with them closely to learn from their experience and at the same time to use the same technique they use to reach the level where they are today in terms of agriculture, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of industrialization.
With the theme, Exploring New Horizons and New Opportunities in China, the president's visit is set to open up new areas to diversify the Nigerian economy.
We have to come up with the new techniques, with new methods, and with new technology, which China has everything on ground to copy from them. So we are taking this back to Nigeria, and we are going with the experts so that we can be able to learn more, and we will be by the agreement that we sign with them in these two critical areas, mining and agriculture.
Following the federal government's development agenda, the Governors Forum has been working behind the scene in China to secure agreements to the terms of cooperation in the mining and agricultural sectors.
This is the fifth time President Muhammadu Buhari is meeting his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, but the first in any of their two countries. The reception accorded the Nigerian leader at the eastern gate of the Great Hall of the People in Beijing was therefore not only colorful and highly benefiting, but a remarkable demonstration of trust, honor, and respect. The Chinese culture, tradition, and hospitality were also put on display as President Muhammadu Buhari and Xi Jinping led their country's high-powered delegations to the inner chamber of the Great Hall for talks on issues of common interest. During the interactive meeting, which lasted more than 1 hour, the Chinese leader noted the challenges of development being faced by the Buhari administration and promised his country's resolve to partner with Nigeria towards addressing them.
Quite a lot of money that they said that they would also make, available to Nigeria, facilities, about 6 billion. And as soon as we identify the project, probably infrastructure, it could be, transport or whatever. But for us, time is of the essence. They're not looking for political gain. They're not looking to dominate any country economically, but it is just that's a sense of solidarity.
Their discussions, according to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, also touched on the economy, security, and the fight against corruption as Nigeria's fundamental problems.
The building blocks that we as a country need to start developing, they are ready to help us in almost all aspects of that. If anybody else other than Mr. President had come to China, we were not going to secure all these really wonderful commitments that they've made to our development.
The former relations between Nigeria and China started 45 years ago.
It was in the public domain that Mr. President was leading a high-powered delegation to China with a checklist worth $2 billion US. But just on the first major engagement, we got $6 billion US.
That's right.
Quite phenomenal, right? What can we make of this?
Well, we would say it's a good sign, but we've always had good cooperation with the Chinese government, with China, and it keeps growing incrementally. So this would probably underlie that factor. Of course, before the president went, there was this hue and cry about whether he's had so many trips. Perhaps we need to tell people that interpersonal high-level contacts currently is the way to do diplomatic business between countries. The time had passed when you sat in your capital and expected things to happen. So just to put that in perspective.
Okay.
Yes.
So, given what has happened now,
Yes.
Nigeria, take it, leave it, in Africa is a major hub for the developed or those in the high climes. With what China has done,
Yes.
will you see Nigeria as the most beautiful bride in the world today?
Well,
Because, I imagine other big tigers falling head over heels to come also have a big pie from Nigeria.
well, I agree. It's a good sign. It's a message to the other tigers who probably are watching to see whether they will come in or not. With big China coming in, that's a good sign. Of course, I am personally not surprised that we've had this support from China, because it's always been so. You probably will know that China identifies itself with the developing nations, even though it's quite gone a long way in development, but it still tunes. I mean, at times I remember we used to have grew up 77 plus China.
Okay.
So China identifies herself with development and sees Africa as the new frontier, where they can express this feeling of developing some other entities. You may ask at times whether it's altruistic or not, but definitely it is their interest. They see a common interest in developing Africa, which is why there has been this robust engagement with the continent. And of course, in that basket, that concept, we are the biggest in Africa population-wise, and we have competencies which they appreciate. So we're likely to see this engagement continue, and it is good that the president realized it quite early enough and decided to make this, undertake this visit. And the results are, the good results are rolling in.
Okay, beautiful. It's possible that
Yes.
there are quite juicy fruits coming in that will pluck iron.
Yes.
Is it also possible that if there's no proper and well-articulated plan on the ground, and this money comes to Nigeria, it may just go down the lane? So what kind of targets should they look at? Because from the Foreign Affairs Minister, what he said the money has been earmarked, is there. It's just to ask and show them what we want to use it for. So what kind of projects can we be thinking about?
Well, there are projects that China will have competencies in: construction, power generation, agriculture, and so on. And with the new situation in our country, where we are looking for a diversification, and private sectors are putting their acts together to benefit, to drive industry and so on. I tell you, 6 billion is good, but it doesn't even begin to deal with our needs. I can tell you that you did mention that I'm part of an energy. We have a plan. We have a proposal for a coal-to-fire plant, perhaps the first this time. And you know the Chinese are very good with coal-to-power generation. It's going to cost not less than 3 billion to generate 1,200 megawatts of electricity. So this same scenario plays out. What we should do, that we should quickly buy into this. We shouldn't waste too much time, because you get these commitments, and if it's not taken up, it either lapses or so on. And of course, there has to be transparency in plucking these soft apples.
Yes.
I do hope, I believe that the country, the administration that has focused now on zero corruption and so on, will make sure that we benefit from each loan tranche that's available. And it will be for projects that can pay for themselves. They're not white elephant projects. So that way we would actually be benefiting from whatever we get as support, investor support from China. So that's the important thing.
What about some maybe very ambitious, you call it white elephant projects that have been there, but quite, if they are activated, it will sustain the economy of the country? Let's say Ajakuta. Can't someone be put in there?
Yes. Once you can identify those projects and make sure that they become critical to the country's developmental needs, then they are no longer white elephant projects. Okay. They are good projects, and they can pay for themselves, because we can enable you to pay back.
Okay. At the start of the program,
yes,
I said with what China has offered Nigeria, is it possible that other big guys, US, Russia, Italy, all that, Germany, want to also come over to say, okay, look, we'll give you 15 billion, we'll give you 30 billion? Well,
that would be a good thing to hope for, to expect.
Maybe targeting certain sectors.
Yes, that would be very good. I would hope that...
I'm taking you from the perspective of diplomacy now.
Yes, that's why I said we would hope that that will happen. But we know that these had been our traditional, investor countries, and there has been a tendency towards maybe they're getting tired of us. So at times you spend too much time getting them to give you what you need. Either that they're worrying about their human rights records, or worrying about whether you are trying to generate power from coal, and so on. But China, not that China doesn't worry about human rights, but they don't put it in the front burner. So you can easily deal with a country like that. let's hope that the other countries will say, okay, let's ease things a bit and make impact in this country that they know have, is the hub of the new frontier, the new markets in Africa, and then stop quibbling about things.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, from the reports, it says this has happened because of the genuine effort by Buhari administration to meet the nation's development aspirations. Mm-hmm. Now, a new agreement was signed and a memorandum of understanding aimed at boosting trade, economic, scientific, and technological cooperation.
Yes.
Those core areas, what are the side effects or the benefits that will crop up? Because it's like a repeated song.
Yes.
But any new angles to it?
Well, there are no new angles. They're just as it said. Technology, investment, and so on. Now, if we seriously buy into these things, we would be the beneficiaries, as different from what had been the case scenario before. You wait for oil money. If it goes to $140, you're happy. You do not diversify the economy. But if you were to now get a mixture of investment, a mixture of technology, and so on, and trade, and really use them, then the sky will be our limit. So what I'm saying is that activating those three tripods will, and seriously, genuinely doing that, will be in our interest.
Okay.
Yes.
A lot will expect that beyond just offering us what they have offered,
Yeah.
they will expect to hear that they are also trying to relocate some of their mega industries, mega factories,
Yes.
mega farms to Nigeria. Locate here, farm here, manufacture here, employ here, then export.
Good. Now, it is our role, responsibility to insist on that modus operandi. So, actually, that's what I think the president was talking about when he was pushing for reducing the balance of trade, because you reduce the balance of trade and making sure that you do not import too much, that you export, especially value-added products, and then export. So at the end of the day, that is what should happen. We should insist as much as possible that industries that China would give support to would be set up here in the country. That way, we will create jobs. In fact, that's the real way to transfer technology, by people doing it here. And we have the capacity to do that. So if we use their resources, technology, and so on to generate power that we need so much to drive industry, and then set up the industries, whether it is textiles, whether it's heavy industries, and so there's so many of them where we don't have, that is falling out of. So, and we grow that, then we would see that it's a win-win situation for Nigeria. Yeah, it would be. China has no problem with that.
Some say Nigeria-China relations is not win-win, it's a win-lose.
Well, who do they say is losing?
I said they are up there and we are down here.
Well, of course, they have. We know how they got there, by developing themselves. Okay. So if we push, if we take a leaf from them and get a leg on from them, get support, we would get to where they got. So it still becomes a win-win. That there is a difference between the person helping you and you doesn't mean you are not winning. In fact, that's because he is ahead. That's why he can actually help you. So I still think it's a win-win situation. But at the end of the day, it's we who would commit to it, work at it. So that is the benefit that we would get from China, at the end of the day, from China, relations between China and Nigeria.
So given you hear big money,
yes,
some person jump at it. But some people are asking, this big money that is coming, I hope there's nothing these guys are trying to take from the back door if we're not careful.
Well, it's our responsibility to make sure that they put their mouth where their money is. That is our responsibility. And this is where the follow-up diplomacy would now lie on to. After the summits, you will get things done at the, well, let me call it lower level. And the lower level will be to make sure that what had been committed, promised at the summit level is delivered.
Okay, let me ask you this differently. We have had very traditional friends.
Yes.
US, UK, name it. And they were not just coming do that easy with assistance like this. And here's 1 week to start to do 45 years of relations today, but they are just there to assist by the beck and call of Nigeria.
Yeah.
How do you think the other guys will look at it? Will it make them come easier than before?
Well,
or will they feel threatened?
They could feel threatened.
Because they may lose a big market.
Yeah, they could do that. So it would be their own to worry. Ours is that we want to buy into, we have a right, we have a responsibility to make new friends. And as you make new friends, you identify friends that can satisfy your needs in a trusting, open-minded way. So this is what the situation is. If our traditional friends still see the value in engaging with us and making friends with us, of course, we also have a responsibility to continue engaging with them. We already know that some of our traditional friends would make you a promise, and a lot of the money will go back in terms of consultancy and so on. I'm sure that may be what has led to the worry you were expressing much earlier.
Yes.
Again, now that we are wiser, we will make sure that we don't find ourselves in that situation. We would make sure that we get the best out of what what we've been offered and what's available.
Okay, some analysts have said that there is need for a careful and detailed analysis of this relationship.
Yes, of course, that's natural. You should always analyze your relationship with your friends, know whether you are getting what you expect to be getting, whether there is trust, whether you are not getting what do they call it, 419 thing. So there's nothing wrong in continually analyzing, reassessing your friendship with countries. But I think over the years we have done well with the Chinese. We have done well with the Chinese. Of course, there are worries like, for instance, China has a lot of population. What if they set up factories here and which they run exclusively themselves? What about the Nigerian labor? What about the Nigerian worker?
So is it possible for them to come and set up a factory here and just run it exclusively themselves without regulation?
Of course, it is possible, provided we make sure that it doesn't happen. So these are the possibilities, because why we want factories to be set up here is so that we would create jobs. And if we have that on focus, we will make sure, in spite of our good relations, we will say that an element of our good relations is that a lot of our people work these factories, industries. So, like I said earlier, it's a matter of you identifying what is your interest and making sure you get it. If you are not able to do that, and naturally your friend, so-called friend, will take. Yes, of course.
Well, when Mr. President began this voyage going around, breaking new grounds, it attracted a lot of public commentaries, negative. It was more the negative than positives.
Yes.
So given what has happened in China. What will you be saying now?
Well,
To those who saw it from the negative perspective.
well, I think probably that they were arguing from the point of lack of knowledge. I started earlier to say that state visits is now the instrument for engagement between countries. And when you are not there, and you leave either your diplomats to shuttle along and so on, you don't get the good results quickly. I know in my service that there were bilateral agreements that were on the shelf for 15 years because, well, the relations between those countries were not that strong. But immediately you talk of a state visit, everybody quickens because a state visit has to come out with something. And that's when you find agreement signed and so on. And these days, this new strategy of going with businessmen, deliberately inviting businessmen to be part of that delegation. When they're there, they talk deals, they see their counterparts and so on. And China is a country that relies a lot on state support. So they like to see that your president is supporting a project. Supporting a project that you're doing.
Okay. So just before we go,
yes,
time is on our side now.
Okay.
Before Mr. President left, he was very consistent with Nigerians about one thing: the need for Nigerians to be patient. That the times are hard, but with time things will soften and we'll all have smiles on our faces.
Yeah.
So what voice can you lend to this?
I agree with him entirely. You see, we had the misfortune that over I wouldn't just say 16 years, or even before then, oil spoiled us, or we allowed oil to spoil us. We neglected our economy, made it monocultural, and that's what got us back here. So, and it's a damage that was done over years, over decades. It could take some time to roll back. Well, for instance, take the issue about corruption, which is very serious. It has affected the society so deeply, and is dealing with it straight on. So I would say patience. I know it's hard. If somebody,
It's excruciating, right?
yeah, it is. But if you messed up for a long time and then you want to roll back, get back, there's a period of when things are just like somebody who's been taking drugs and then you decide to clean yourself up. There's that period that you're almost feeling that you're dying, but of course that's after that you get up again.
So your last word for Nigerians?
Well, of course, talking as a diplomat, I would say that state visits are necessary to establish and strengthen diplomatic relations, especially state visits to countries that are critical, that are strong enough to support our efforts.
Okay.
So that's it.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Joseph Ayalogu,
Thank you.
former Nigerian Permanent Representative in the UN,
Yeah.
former Nigerian Ambassador to Switzerland,
Yeah.
and now retired career diplomat. Thanks for being on the Diplomatic Ties.
Thank you.
And we hope and believe that you will always be our guest
Yeah, well, I'm welcome.
when the need arises.
Thank you.
That's the much on the Diplomatic Ties today, and we hope we will do it again, same time, same station. And on behalf of all of you, I say thanks for listening. Bye-bye.